The Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, has been reacting to the drought announcement today. He's also been talking about the cost of living crisis and the price of fuel bills. Let's listen to what he's been saying.
It was nearly 12 months ago now on energy bills that we proposed insulation of homes, a massive project to bring down the costs. In January we said there should be a windfall tax. It took the government 5 months to catch up with that idea and implement it. We also said that VAT should be taken off energy bills. Rishi Sunak is only just now recognising that Labour got it right again. Today, I've announced that for prepayment meters, this is the 4 million people who are hardest hit, who have got extra money, premiums on that, paying even more than everybody else. That will be abolished under Labour. It's outrageous and immoral. And on Monday, I'm going to be setting out a comprehensive set of proposals, a plan for how we handle the upcoming costs in the autumn. Meanwhile, what you've had from the Conservative Party is two leadership candidates arguing with each other about just how appalling their record in government has been, and a Prime Minister who's a lame duck. He recognises there's a problem and he's not prepared to do anything about it. So for the best part of 12 months, Labour has been absolutely leading on this issue, and I'm very proud of the work that we've done.
This last week, though, some would argue that this week it's been Gordon Brown or even Martin Lewis, the money-saving expert, who's made the headlines, who've been coming up with these solutions, rather than you perhaps calling out the government for their lack of urgency. So where have you been? I
think, look, Liz Truss is saying a windfall tax is a Labour idea. She's right about that. We announced that back in January of this year, and it took the government months to catch up with that. VAT off energy bills, again, we announced that months and months ago, and the government hasn't caught up with that. Today, a very strong announcement for 4 million people. These are the poorest people who are often using these prepayment meters, for a very strong proposal today, and a set of detailed plans on Monday, a comprehensive costed plan to deal with what's coming in the autumn.
I think Scottish Minister Nicola Sturgeon just yesterday said that she thought the response to the cost of living crisis should be something akin to the size of the response to COVID. What's your reaction to that?
We do need a strategic, a credible plan, and that's exactly what's missing from this government. For weeks now, and for weeks to come, we've seen the spectacle of the two leadership hopefuls fighting each other, internal battle, actually arguing about just how bad they've been in government, and a Prime Minister who is a lame duck because he recognises there's a problem with energy bills, but says, I'm not going to do anything about it. So yes, we need a strategic plan, and that's what I will be setting out on Monday.
I'm going to ask you basically a similar question, really just to paraphrase in different ways, if that's okay. It's easy to criticise what the candidates for Tory party leader are proposing. What would Labour do, though? How would you cover the cost of bills increasing?
Well, I think there has to be an immediate response today in relation to the prepayment meters. For 4 million people, they've been paying over the odds. They've been paying a premium. So for them, the price hikes have been even steeper. These are some of the poorest people. We've made it clear today we will abolish that. That's outrageous. It's immoral. It should have been done a long time ago. On Monday, we'll have a comprehensive set of plans. But already for over a year now, we've been talking about energy bills and how we have secured energy supplies. That's why I said nearly a year ago that we should have an insulation plan to keep those bills down. Massive difference that would make. That's why at the turn of the year, months and months ago, we introduced a windfall tax and the argument that VAT should be taken off energy bills. So for many, many months, we've been the ones putting the practical proposals on the table, and the government's been coming up slowly with responses and sometimes with no response at all.
You talk about cutting VAT, insulation. I'm a householder, but if I'm somebody who's looking at a bill, an average bill of £5,000, it's a vast increase. It's something like a threefold increase for many people. That won't really cut it, though, will it? That won't necessarily really help people. Is it enough?
Had the government taken up our proposal for a massive insulation programme last year when we introduced it, then many, many families would already be seeing lower bills. So I don't accept the argument it wouldn't have made a difference. Had the government acted more quickly on the windfall tax, then for many more months families would have been protected under a better scheme by Labour. If the government had acted on Labour's idea for VAT to be reduced, to be eliminated on energy bills, many people would be better off. For the 4 million who are using prepayment meters, we're saying clearly we would abolish them. It would help 4 million people who very often are those struggling most throughout this crisis. And on Monday we will have a fully comprehensive costed plan for the autumn rises, which I know are worrying millions and millions of people.
What about some other things? Would you, for example, consider extending the windfall tax? Might you be offering cash grants to people who are saying they're struggling to pay?
Well, our proposal for a windfall tax was very straightforward, which was to tax the excess profits for the oil and gas companies in the North Sea. They made more profit than they were expected, and use it directly to take money off the bills for those most in need, up to £600. The government didn't accept that scheme. They came up with a second grade scheme. Our proposal includes taking VAT off bills, dealing with those 4 million who are really struggling the most. And as I say, on Monday we'll have a fully costed comprehensive plan from Labour to take us through the crisis in the autumn. Meanwhile, the gulf between us and the government is absolutely vast, because they know there's a problem, they're squabbling amongst themselves, and the Prime Minister is in office but he's not in power.
Another question, which is a slightly different topic, it's about the weather. There's now a drought and hosepipe bans across much of the country, particularly for England. Are water companies doing enough to fix the leaks? We think there was a huge leak in Islington earlier this week. And our customers, are they able to refund on their bills?
Water companies aren't doing enough to deal with leakages and other problems. We saw the sewage going into rivers, and I think that some of the regulation should have been better used. I would like to see much greater fines against those companies that aren't doing what is necessary. But there's a familiar pattern here, which is we've got a government with no strategy. This drought, this hot period was predictable, but as usual we had no plan from the government, and this is the pattern, this is the character of this government, and that's why we've been arguing that the change that Britain needs is not a change of leadership at the top of the Tory party, it's a change of government and a fresh start for Britain.
With climate change, unfortunately scientists say that we can expect this weather more often. What would Labour do to make the country better prepared?
Well, we would have a strategic plan in place in relation to water, but other essentials as well. The regulations that are there are not being used to their full extent, and I think there should be new regulations as well to ensure that we plan for the future. The difference between a Labour government and the government we've got is that we look at the problems coming down the line and come up with a plan to deal with them. The government looks at the problem up the line and puts its head in the sand, and that is the problem we have in this country, whether it's water, whether it's all the other issues that are simply not working. We're stuck with this government that is frankly dysfunctional.
Sir Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party.